A very good morning to all the students. This video for the class 7th, subject science, for chapter number 7, that is weather, climate and adaptations of animal to climate. This is your lecture number 2nd. So in today's lecture we are going to cover some topics. So the topics to be covered are, so the first topic that we are going to cover in this chapter is, what do you understand by the climate? Second, comparing the climate of the two places. We are going to comparing the climate of the two places. Third is factors that affect the climate. Fourth one is adaptations of animals. Under this adaptations of animals, we have the adaptations in the polar regions. So the first topic is, what is climate? So the climate is the long-term average of weather, typically averaged over a period of 25 to 35 years. It's a long-term period of a weather. Here we have to take the periods of 25 to 35 years to make a climate report. Okay. Climate of a place depends on the position of a place on the earth. For example, the place near the equator have the hot climate and the place near the poles have the cold climate. Now you might be thinking, why it's hotter near the equator and colder near the poles? Because the equator is close to the sun and sun ray hit the earth's surface at a higher angle of the equator. That's why the place near the equator have the hot climate and the place near the poles have the cold climate. At the equator, the area that present at the equator are Brazil, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, Kenya and Indonesia. These are the countries which are close to the equator. So in these areas the climate is always hot climate. Okay. Near the poles we have the Canada, Greenland, Alaska and Arctic regions. These are the nearest to the pole. That's why here in these regions have the cold climate. Next, climate also depends on the altitude of a place. For example, in coastal region at a sea level usually have a hot and wet climate, while mountain regions which are far above the sea level have the cool climate. As you can see here, the coastal region, here in this region they are the coastal region at a sea level. Here have the hot and the wet climate, while in the mountain region, this is your mountain region, Himalayan region, which are far above the sea level. This is the sea level, so it's a far above the sea. So here the level have the cool climate. Now let us study the climate condition of our two places in India. The first is Srinagar and Trivandrum. Okay, in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir is located in northern India and is close to the mountain. Hence it has a very cold climate. This is the picture of Srinagar. Here it has, Srinagar has a very cold climate. Next is Trivandrum. In Trivandrum, located in the southern India in a coastal region. Trivandrum located in the southern India in Kerala. Okay, it has a hot and a wet climate. By knowing the climate of a particular place in a state or a region, we can understand the climate of the whole state or that region. Okay, for example, as you can see here in this figure, Srinagar is a place in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. By studying the climate condition of Srinagar, we can estimate the general climate of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, we can estimate the climate of Jammu and Kashmir region by studying the Srinagar climate. In the same way, similarly, Trivandrum is a place in Kerala. By studying the climate condition in Trivandrum, we can estimate the climate of Kerala region. Okay, so the mean or the average temperature for the given month we can calculate in these steps. For example, first we have to calculate the average of the temperature recording during a month. Okay, and calculate that. What we have to do? We have to first average of the temperature recorded during a month. Okay, and then we can calculate it. Then the average of such temperature over many years is calculated, and thus give the mean temperature. In the same way, we can find out the temperature of mean temperature of Trivandrum. In the same way, first we have to the average of temperature recorded of a month and then calculated it. Then again average of such temperature over many years is calculated, and this gives the mean temperature. Okay, by analyzing these two tables, we can find the difference in the climate of Srinagar and Trivandrum. Analyzing these two tables, we can find the difference in the climate of Srinagar and Trivandrum. From this one, we can estimate the comparatively the state of Jammu and Kashmir has moderate temperature and wet climate for a part of the year, while the Kerala remains hot and wet for the most part of the year. Okay, here in Jammu and Kashmir has the moderate temperature and wet climate. In Kerala, it's remain hot and wet for the most part of the year. Okay, in the same way, we can study the similar data of a temperature and rainfall of Rajasthan. Okay, we will find that Rajasthan is very hot and dry for the most part of the year and has a typical desert climate. Okay, in the same way, we can study the data of the northeastern India. We will find that the northeastern India has a moderate hot and wet climate. Okay, you have to connect the data of Rajasthan, make a table for the Rajasthan, and another make a table for the northeastern India. Okay, then again compare all these things, minimum temperature, and you have to calculate the mean temperature for the Rajasthan, the mean temperature for the northern east area. Okay, moving on a topic, that is difference between weather and climate. We have discussed about the weather and climate also. So weather is the condition of the atmosphere in a specific place at a given point in a time. These atmospheric conditions may take place day by day, minute by minute, or seasonally. In a weather, it's a very short period of a time which can easily vary. But in climate is the average weather condition over a place, and it mostly take place after 30 years of time. We have to collect the data for the 30 years or 25 to 30 years. In weather, weather may involve just one condition of the atmosphere, but in climate it includes all the conditions. Okay, such as temperature, precipitation, wind, humidity, cloud and pressure. In weather, weather occurs in a place within a short period, but in climate takes place over a long period of a time. Okay, weather is what you get on a daily basis, but in climate what you expect over a long time. Weather changes within a short time, but climate changes within a very long time, and variation of a climate are very stable and may take decades or the century to occur. The scientific study of weather is meteorology, and the meteorologist studies the weather. The scientific study of climate is climatology, and the climatologist studies the climate. Next, moving on a third topic, that is factors that affect the climate. Now we are going to study the factor that affects the climate. So the first factor that affect the climate is water bodies. Second is atmospheric circulation. Third one is solar activity. Fourth one is earth motions, greenhouse effect, global warming. So in water body, there is a large water body such as lake, as you can see here in this picture. The lakes and the ocean have an important effect on the temperature of an area, okay, because the temperature of the water body influences the temperature of the air that is present in the atmosphere. The temperature of the water body affects the temperature of the atmosphere, okay. Second is atmospheric circulation. Here the global winds, these are the global winds, are the another factor that influence the climate because they distribute heat. You can see here they distribute some heat and moisture around the earth. That's why they affect the climate. Next we have the solar activity. When the sun is most active, it contains some dark blemishes called sunspots. The formation of sunspot appears to correspond with warm period in Europe and North America. That affects also a climate. Okay. So in detail, so the first we are going to discuss this water bodies. There are some large bodies of water such as lakes and ocean have an important effect on the temperature of an area because the temperature of the body influence the temperature of the air that is present in atmosphere. Okay, the temperature of water body influence the temperature of air that is present in our atmosphere. Next is atmospheric circulation. There are some global winds are the another factor that influence our climate because these winds disturb the heat and the moisture around the earth. Then they affect our climate. Next we have the solar activities. When the sun is most of the in an active phase, it contains some dark blemishes. Okay, so the formation of sunspot appears to correspond with warm period in Europe and North America and affect the climate. Next is earth motion. Geographical change in earth, land and water bodies changes in climate. Okay, here change in the shape of a earth orbit and the tilt of the earth on its axis are the other earth motion that affects our global climate. Okay. Next we have the greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect is a natural warming of a both earth lower temperature and earth surface from the solar radiation being absorbed and emitted by the atmosphere, that is greenhouse effect. In a simple term, greenhouse is a natural process that warms the earth's surface, okay, when the sun energy reaches to this earth's surface now, some of the energy is reflected back to the space and rest is absorbed, and then the rest of the energy that re-radiates by the greenhouse gases. Okay, so the absorbed energy warms the atmosphere or warms the surface of the earth. This is greenhouse effect. Moving on a fourth topic of this lecture, or the last topic of this lecture, that is adaptation in polar region. First we are going to define the adaptation. What is adaptation? So the adaptation is the state of adjusting or changing to become more suited to an environment. Adaptation is to modify themselves for suited to that environment. That is adaptation. Okay, so or we can say that adaptation is an evolutionary process where an organism becomes better able to live in that habitat. Okay, that is adaptation. Adaptation in polar region. Here in the polar region, these regions are present at the pole of the Earth's north pole and the south pole. Okay, they have extremely cold climate and remains covered with the snow. The temperature can be as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius to minus 40 degrees Celsius. They do not have sun continuously for the 6 months, so they hardly have any light during the day. Okay, there are some countries near the North Pole regions are Greenland, Ireland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark and Finland, also Alaska. These are the region, that country or the region that near to the North Pole. Okay, yeah, you can see Greenland, Ireland, Denmark, Alaska and Finland also. So now we are studying the polar bear. In this chapter we will discuss the adaptation present in polar bear and a penguin or some migratory birds. Okay, so the polar bear are found in the North Pole region. Okay, so as you can see here, the adaptation of the polar bear. Polar bear feeds mainly only fish and seaweed. They have the white thick fur. Okay, you can see here white fur. They have the white thick fur. Polar bear has a thick white fur which helps it in two ways. First, it's being white in color, it matches with the surrounding and protect the animal from its predator. Okay, being two-layer, it keeps the polar bear warm in a cold weather. Okay, they have two layers. It keeps the polar bear warm in a cold weather. They have the fat layer. The fat layer underneath the skin that insulates the body against heat loss. Okay, they have sharp and the curved claws which helps it walking on a slippery ice. They have the wide and large paws. They have also wide and large paws. They allow it to spread the weight of its body and walk with ease on a snow. That's why they have the wide and the large paws. Okay, and one more thing, they have a strong sense of a smell. It helps to locate and catch its prey for the food. And one more thing, they are good swimmer and can close to its nostril. Being a fast swimmer, polar bear is able to catch the food. They can easily catch their food while swimming. Polar bear can close its nostril to remain underwater for the long duration of a time. So these are the adaptation of a polar bear. We have already studied that they have the white thick fur for because it matches with the surrounding and protect the animal from its predator. Okay, and they have the two layer, it keeps the polar bear warm in the cold weather. Then they have the fat layer underneath the skin that insulate their body against the heat loss. Okay, next they have the sharp and the curved claws. They help it walk on a slippery ice. Then they have a very strong sense of smell. It helps it to locate and catch the prey for the food. That's why they have the strong sense of smell. Next, they are good swimmer. Being a fast swimmer, polar bear is able to catch the food, fish and the small animals, okay, easily in underwater. While swimming, polar bears can close its nostril to remain underwater for longer duration. Okay, and they have the wide and a large paws. Now we have the homework solution of lecture number 1st. So the first question is, the highest temperature occurs in a day is in the afternoon. And the second question is, the lowest temperature occurs in a day in a morning. Next we have the homework of this lecture number 2nd. So you have to do, first you have to differentiate between, the first part is weather and climate. Differentiate between weather and climate. Second, humidity and rainfall. Third one is differentiate between the maximum and the minimum temperature of a day. You have to make a table and write the difference between the weather and climate, humidity and rainfall, maximum and minimum temperature of the day. So this is it about this lecture. Hope you have understood this lecture. Thank you and have a nice day.